This scene, the combine scene, we call it. This is where Bo Cruz, he's had some ups and downs until this moment, and this is something that Stanley Sugarman's been fighting to get him a shot at, the combine, and this is basically where he gets to show what he's made of with future pros, people who are going into the NBA.
You against you, all right? We've done this 100 times. This is just another workout. You're an iceberg. Focus, kick some ass.
I love this scene because it's a culmination stylistically of all the basketball games that we've filmed so far. In each game, we sort of add a new technical element. You know, in the first game in Spain, there's a lot of handheld. In the next game, in the 5-on-5, it's a lot of this fast-cutting, sort of rhythmic, percussive nature of basketball. And then in this, we sort of throw the kitchen sink at it. We have the cameras on the court, the broadcast cameras, just like they did in the fighter. We have, you know, movies on rickshaws. We have handheld, and we have what we call Stanley Vision. That's the way Stanley Sugarman sees the world. The movies that really started to inspire me were boxing movies like Raging Bull and The Fighter. And I thought it was so beautiful the way they had captured that sport. And I thought if we could shoot basketball like they shot boxing, especially because ultimately it was mostly a one-on-one game that we were filming in the scenes. The scenes were always one-on-one. It was always Bo versus Kermit or Bo versus Mr. Everything. So we had this opportunity to sort of create these really cool special images that you hadn't seen before. And we did a long gestating period of research. And then we did this immense test day where we tested all these different kind of contraptions. This is exactly as close as we could make it to what the real combine looks like. Although it's, you know, it's in Philadelphia, but we had people come in and set it up so that it was exact to the specifications.
Yes, you worked hard on that, Jeremiah, making it an exact replica. And a lot of the people in the scene are people who are part of the combine, and they were nice enough to give us their time and make it authentic.
Yeah, or coaches on the Lakers, coaches on the Sixers. I think, you know, are part of the team. Opposing teams.
Yeah.
Kermit has the Sixers coach. Bo has the Lakers coach.
Yes.
Greg St. Jean.
Yeah, Greg St. Jean. Yeah. And Anthony Edwards does a heck of it. He gave us his time too and made it pretty damn authentic too. I thought about my dad a lot as a coach when I was a kid. My dad's name was Stanley, like my character, and never worried about anything except how to make the best of what you have to offer. My father was always just there, just trying to help me out, and that's how I felt like me and Juancho's relationship was. It was just true love. After getting to know Bo Cruz, fall in love with him, I just wanted great things for him, and that's how my dad was for me.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. I mean, I think the movie's a father-son story at its core, and you know, I think it's beautiful that you put your father's name in it.
Either way, it worked. He's feeling good. My wife says hi. My wife says hello.
Oh, hi.
Hello. They're excited. Okay, I love you. I'm gonna watch the game.
This is where I remember when Anthony Edwards started to do this scene with Bo Cruz. This is a beautiful split diopter shot that Zach pulled out on the day. But I remember Adam leaning over to me while we were watching that scene and being like, holy shit.
It was on the money. It was so on the money when some guy has your ear on the court and is just talking to you and making you feel stuff you don't want to feel.
We're off. Here we go.
Bo Cruz was doing well. He was kind of ignoring it. We built up a defense mechanism to block that out, but ultimately it gets through.
A lot of this scene is carried by Dan Deacon's score, which is a callback to the Spain game. There's these drums that sort of, these rhythmic drums that sort of power through the scene that are really great and sort of weave the emotion backwards and forwards. And there's these superhero horns that are kind of layered on top of it as Bo starts to do well and then start to fall apart. The horns come down, the superhero.
Absolutely.
Yes.
This is nice. This is basically back and forth, and you're just seeing moments that Anthony Edwards has and then moments that Juancho's on top. You guys shot that perfect, man. Made it feel so real. Made it, you felt every character, what they were going through. And that is probably one of the most painful parts in the movies, just because you grow to love Bo Cruz so much, and then that's it. That's it for him. That was the big show, and it was going beautifully, and then that one mistake cost him. Anthony has Wancho's ear, and Stanley Sugarman knows something can go wrong right here.
He starts to feel it. You can see it right there. I mean, it's the beginning of a beautiful performance in this scene that Adam gives. You can start to feel this tension building.
Oh, okay, I see what's going on. That's your mom. Hey, is it legal to have a kid with your mom, Miss Spain? Because we don't roll like that over here. Hey, I know you hear me. Hey.
One of the things I loved about what you did during this entire process is you loved interacting with the real basketball players and the real coaches. And this interaction here between you and Greg St. Jean is awesome. You feel that you're like, Greg, you're fucking up. And to say to a real coach that you're fucking up is pretty.
Communicate to each other. Give my kid a breather.
Yeah, right. And Greg was great with just going like, I got this, man. Just stay out of this and mind your business.
Greg, take him out. Give him a rest. Give him a rest for a minute.
Stanley, we got it.
You don't have it.
Basically, it feels like my son out there, and I know what goes on through his head, and nobody knows him as well as I do, so that's why I'm trying to block it, but it's not going to work.
Yeah, I think that's part of what makes it so exciting. The scene is that you're watching real players and real coaches, and you're integrated perfectly within the scene.
Absolutely, man. And you just, it's so painful because you know how much talent in real life and what the character's talent has, and you see it slipping away in this moment. That just because of this one moment, life's gonna change for this guy in a way that you don't want it to go.
Hey, go!
One of the things I love about the movie is that neither of the characters, neither Stanley or Bo, is a perfect person. And they're both sort of capable of falling apart and capable of doing the wrong thing and capable of making big mistakes. And you're constantly rooting for them the whole movie not to make those big mistakes. And then in this scene, that's what happens. He makes that mistake, but he pulls it back just enough to
Yes. I remember you shooting that shot of Anthony on the ground and big Wancho's hand coming an inch away from his face, and then Anthony smiling how amazing that was, that he knew he got to old Bo.
Yeah, that was a beautiful, beautiful moment. And it's beautiful because you see Bo break at the same time Stanley breaks, and they look at each other, they connect right here, right? And there's this moment between them where Kermit is obviously elated, but Stanley is breaking.
This is like one of the first movies shot after the pandemic started. We were working on the script the whole time during the pandemic. Me and Jeremiah and Will were Zooming away. We were really focused. The shooting process was different than anything we've ever done because no one was allowed to touch each other during the first 5-6 weeks of the shoot, right, Jeremiah? Is that how long it was?
Yeah, I had goggles on and a mask. I barely even saw you, unless we were in a scene together working.
Yeah, right. And so we did every interior shot that didn't require basketball, anybody sweat, anybody touching, anybody holding each other. So there were there's about 5 weeks worth of stuff we could shoot. We shot that, worked on that, right? You edited. Then we came back, like 8 months later or something? 6 months later?
One cool thing is it allowed us time to storyboard the whole movie and animatic the whole movie. So we were able to animatic all the scenes, all the basketball scenes, all the following scenes. We knew the edit intimately when we went into the second part of the
yes, that's true.
Which was really helpful and fun. I was able to refer to that every time I opened a day. I was able to look at my storyboards and say, this is what I need to get. And then, for the basketball especially, that was helpful because the basketball scenes were so detail oriented.
I'm not asking for a favor. This guy can play.
Everybody keeps saying that, but you don't know the whole story. Meet the kid.
What was cool for me filming this scene, it was in the first round of shooting, and it was really quiet. We made the set really quiet, and I got my chance, because we didn't have a ton of interaction, to watch Adam prepare for the scene. And he sat there with Coach Bobby Verdun, and he sort of went over all these, ideas that weren't scripted, things that were part of the real combine, part of the real world, part of the real life of what coaches experience. And we did the scene over and over again, and Adam would just riff on those ideas, and those ideas are what makes it. I mean, those lines are in the movie. They're not scripted lines. They're lines that Adam sort of brought out of his belly and sort of threw onto the screen. It was in the moment, and I think that's what keeps the movie so alive. That Adam is constantly, putting himself, verbally and emotionally into the scene, his whole self. And I think, maybe I'm wrong, Adam, but I think also you're putting part of your history into the scene. I mean, I think that part of who you are.
Hey, maybe, yeah, yes, me, some of people I know, some of, I grew up playing basketball. I grew up knowing these guys. I also grew up in show business and have seen people not get give and not get anything back, and the pain they feel, and it's connected a lot of different things in my life, and maybe some stuff from my real life. Yeah.
We start the scene with Jordan and from her perspective, and I sort of thought of it like the scene in Rosemary's Baby where you're watching John Cassavetes on the phone and you're constantly trying to see him and you can't see his face. And that was sort of the beginning of this thing. Like, what is happening to this guy? What's happening to him? I need to see him. I need to see him. I need to see him. So the whole scene starts there from her and her feeling and her need to see, because that's what she is. She's a watcher. And then you're in his experience for the rest of the scene. And I think it's so moving to go, to be so far away and then suddenly so close.
God damn it, I spoke at your father's camp every year, and I never asked for anything back, okay? So I'm asking you now for something. Please help me.
Watching Adam explode is a beautiful thing. And then you don't realize that Queen Latifah's been watching him the whole time.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
I think that's like kind of the most moving thing is like all of a sudden she's there, there's your wife, like the only person you can be vulnerable in front of, the only person you feel comfortable being vulnerable in front of. And the whole time she's watching, and she's saying this line that he says to her over and over again, to provide comfort. And in this case, it provides no comfort. There's nothing that can comfort him.
Family, it's not about the last play. It's about the next one, right?
That's if you're in the game, T. I wasn't even in the game.
You finish with the daughter's perspective. So, you're reminded that, this will affect her as much as it affects them. I thought this scene was electric when we were shooting it. It was like this thing where you felt this thing come in. I think Queen Latifah came up to me after like the fourth take, and she was like, I can't do that again. It's too painful. This is too painful.
Yeah. I remember that. Yes.
I'm sorry, we have to do it again.
Yeah, that's right. That is the craziest part of making a movie is feeling it, going for it, and then saying, okay, we got to create that at every angle. Let's keep going, man.